Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your reading comprehension lesson, lesson 1 for week 4. We're going to have 2 of these lessons each week, and it's going to be similar to our text study like we did on Stormboy and the Arrival in term 1. The text we're going to be looking at is Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes, and in each lesson we're going to read through and analyze one of the chapters. So we'll start with chapter 1, which is called Good Luck Signs. Now, I'll read the chapter aloud, but you're more than welcome to read it by yourself as well. So this story is by Eleanor Core, I should say, and illustrations are by Ed Young. Before we start reading, I would like you to refer to your Super 6 Comprehension Strategy template. You can find this in the Classwork tab in Google Classrooms. This is an editable Google Doc, which you can fill in over the course of this unit while we're reading this text. Similar to reading groups, when you got this template, which looked a little bit different, but still had the same Super 6 strategies, and just filling it in as you go. Before you start reading, or before I start reading chapter 1, I'd like you to fill in the predictions section, so making some predictions about the characters, storyline, and events. You don't need to hand this in at the end of each week. I can see what you're doing as you go along, and then maybe at the end we can submit it. Okay, now before I start reading, this is a story about a real life person, and it tells a story of a girl named Sadako Sasaki who lived in Hiroshima, Japan in 1955. So I want you to think about, why do we tell stories about people who lived in the past? So these could be people you've seen in the news, people you've read about in books or you've learnt about in films, or they could be people in your own life. So I've included a few examples here. In the news, I recently saw a story about Sally Ride, who was the first US astronaut, female astronaut, I should say. And in books, I recently read a book about Nelson Mandela. And then in my own life, my grandma. So these are stories that are interesting to me, they're important to me for various reasons. So for activity 1, I'd like you to think about someone whose life story has been important to you, and then describe the person's story in your own words and explain why it's important or interesting to you. So it only needs to be a couple of sentences. It could be someone you find inspiring, or somebody in your own life and their life story. They don't have to be living, but they can be, it doesn't really matter. Essentially, somebody's real life story that's important or interesting to you. Now, for our text, the main character is Sadako Sasaki. So as I said, she's a real girl who grew up in Japan in 1955. So this was about 9 years, I believe, after World War II, when World War II ended in the Pacific. Okay, so this story starts with chapter 1, as most stories do, and it's called Good Luck Signs. Sadako was born to be a runner. Her mother always said that Sadako had learned to run before she could walk. One morning in August 1954, Sadako ran outside into the street as soon as she was dressed. The morning sun of Japan touched brown highlights in her dark hair. There was not a speck of cloud in the blue sky. It was a good sign. Sadako was always on the lookout for good luck signs. Back in the house, her sister and 2 brothers were still sleeping on their bed quilts. She poked her big brother Masahiro. "Get up, lazy bones," she said. "It's Peace Day." Masahiro groaned and yawned. He wanted to sleep as long as possible, but like most 14-year-old boys, he also loved to eat. When he sniffed the good smell of bean soup, Masahiro got up. Soon, Mitsue and Eiji were awake too. Sadako helped Eiji get dressed. He was 6, but he sometimes lost a sock or shirt. Afterward, Sadako folded the bed quilt. Her sister Mitsue, who was 9, helped put them away in the closet. Rushing like a whirlwind into the kitchen, Sadako cried, "Oh, Mother, I can hardly wait to go to the carnival. Can we please hurry up with breakfast?" Her mother was busily slicing pickled radishes to serve with rice and soup. She looked sternly at Sadako. "You're 11 years old, and you should know better," she scolded. You must not call it a carnival. Every year on August 6th, we remember those who died when the atom bomb was dropped on our city. It is a memorial day. Mr. Sasaki came in from the front porch. That's right, he said. Sadako-chan, you must show respect. Your own grandmother was killed that awful day. But I do respect Oba-chan, Sadako said. I pray for her spirit every morning. It's just that I'm so happy today. So Oba-chan's another way of referring to grandmother in Japanese. As a matter of fact, it's time for our prayers now, her father said. The Sasaki family gathered around the little altar shelf. Oba-chan's picture was there in a gold frame. Sadako looked at the ceiling and wondered if her grandmother's spirit was floating somewhere above the altar. Sadako-chan, Mr. Sasaki said sharply. Sadako quickly bowed her head. She fidgeted and wriggled her bare toes while Mr. Sasaki spoke. He prayed that the spirits of their ancestors were happy and peaceful. He gave thanks for his barbershop. He gave thanks for his fine children, and he prayed that his family would be protected from the atom bomb disease called leukemia. Many still died from the disease, even though the atom bomb had been dropped on Hiroshima 9 years before. It had filled the air with radiation, a kind of poison that stayed inside people for a long time. At breakfast, Sadako noisily gulped down her soup and rice. Masahiro began to talk about girls who ate like hungry dragons, but Sadako didn't hear his teasing. Her thoughts were dancing around the peace day of last year. She loved the crowds of people, the music, and fireworks. Sadako could still taste the spun cotton candy. She finished her breakfast before anyone else. When she jumped up, Sadako almost knocked the table over. She was tall for her age, and her long legs always seemed to get in the way. Come on, Mitsue-chan, she said. Let's wash the dishes so we can go soon. When the kitchen was clean and tidy, Sadako tied red bows on her braids and stood impatiently by the door. Sadako-chan, her mother said softly, we aren't leaving until 7:30. You can sit quietly until it's time to go. Sadako plopped down with a thud onto the tatami mat. Nothing ever made her parents hurry. While she sat there, a fuzzy spider paced across the room. A spider was a good luck sign. Now Sadako was sure the day would be wonderful. She cupped the insect in her hands and carefully set it free outside. That's silly, Masahiro said. Spiders don't bring good luck. Just wait and see, Sadako said gaily. And that's the end of chapter 1. Good luck signs. So, here are your comprehension questions for today. Make sure you don't forget to fill in your Super 6 template as you go along as well. So hopefully you've done your prediction by now. So question 1, why does Sadako's mother tell Sadako not to call Peace Day a carnival? Why does Sadako fidget and wriggle her toes while Mr. Sasaki is praying? What is radiation? What effect can it have on people? So for some of these questions, you might want to do a little bit of research as well. Otherwise, you might find some answers in the text. Question 4, the atom bomb was dropped 9 years before the story began. So that was at the end of World War II. Why did Mr. Sasaki still pray that his family would be protected from the bomb? And question 5, Sadako tells her brother Masahiro that spiders bring good luck. What are some things that are considered good luck in your culture? Yeah, so you might have some particular traditions or rituals or objects or pictures that are considered, or numbers that are considered good luck. Okay, I look forward to seeing your responses, and I'll see you in lesson 2.